Right, guys, welcome back to the channel. So, here's my reasons why I think boxing isn't a real sport. I know it's controversial to say, and I know there's a lot of great boxers out there that can do incredible things. You have amateurs to professionals to prospects to legends that have done great things in the sporting world. But today, as it stands, Francis Ngannou has proved to the world and many other reasons that I'm going to present to you right now that boxing at the most is at the lower ends of combat sports, and at the least, it's not a real combat sport. So first off, I have to say, let's use Francis Ngannou for an example here. So Francis Ngannou's not in boxing, and he went in with arguably the greatest boxer, heavyweight boxer of our generation, Tyson Fury, and he went the distance. So I said that Francis Ngannou wouldn't make it out of the fight. He wouldn't last 30 seconds. And because I give boxing the credit it deserved, that these boxers have trained throughout their whole life. And no matter if they're below par, no matter how they're feeling, if they've got the flu, a broken leg, anybody that steps into the ring with one of these guys, their muscle memory is going to kick in, their knowledge of boxing is going to kick in, and anything that anybody throws at them is going to be null and void. Doesn't make a difference. Doesn't matter if you've been training for 2 years. If you haven't had that extensive amateur career and learning the sweet science and learning how to knock out in your your footwork and your head movement and your body movement and your ring generalship, all these lovely keywords that boxing historians and boxing fans like to say, if you don't have any of them things, doesn't matter what you bring to the table. It doesn't matter if you're an MMA guy, jiu-jitsu guy. It doesn't matter if you're respected in any other combat sport. That boxer is going to get the better of you. Well, Francis Ngannou has proved that that actually is the biggest load of horseshit. That you can be an MMA guy, a not very technically gifted MMA guy. I have to state this for anybody that doesn't know Francis Ngannou. He's not the most technically gifted. With those 4 ounce gloves, he sort of, his backup was his power. And if anybody knows about the Stipe Miocic fights, where basically Stipe was able to just use groundwork just to take him down. He landed shots on Francis Ngannou, and Stipe's not really known for. He's known for his big heavy shots, but he's more known for his game plans, implementing these game plans. And if you're able to have a solid game plan against Francis Ngannou in MMA, you've won the fight. Francis Ngannou had one thing that he could do, and that was land that shot on your jaw. If he'd done that, it was night, night, sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite. Now, that's what he was known for in MMA, and he became heavyweight champion with that. But he's not known for his groundwork. He's not known for his jiu-jitsu. He's not known for his wrestling. He's not known for his Muay Thai. He's not known for his Sambo. He's known for that deadly shot that he has, and that got him that far, and that probably will get him into the Hall of Fame in MMA. It was that good that it got him into the Hall of Fame in MMA. Now, it shouldn't be that good that he goes into boxing and he goes the distance with arguably the greatest heavyweight boxer of our generation. Actually, Francis Ngannou, should be able to step into the ring with the lowest ranked heavyweight boxer, and that lowest ranked heavyweight boxer should be able to beat him. We're talking about Tyson Fury here. Everybody's calling Tyson Fury a bum. He isn't. Tyson Fury is one of the most technically gifted boxers, especially in the heavyweight division. He moves like a middleweight. He's got power. He showed that in the Deontay Wilder fights. He can get hit. He can get back up again. But when it comes to winning in the sport of boxing, Tyson Fury knows how to outpoint people. A lot of people say that Francis Ngannou won that fight. I don't think he did, looking at it back. But should it have been a draw? I think so. I think it was a draw. I think it was 50-50. And for that reason alone, Francis Ngannou has proved that boxing isn't a real sport. My second reason for this is the Paul brothers, Jake Paul and Logan Paul. We're going to go into the entertainment side of things. So you have a guy, you've guys here, that Logan Paul and Jake Paul and KSI and Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury's supposed to be the hardcore boxer out of all these sort of people. Tommy Fury's got an amateur career. He's got a professional career. He comes from a long line of good boxers. He's, connected to Tyson Fury, Big John Fury. Regardless of what you think of them, they are in the boxing world. And KSI more than likely beat Tommy Fury in that fight. It actually went to the judges again, or it went to another governing body, and they said, actually, we think KSI won. Don't quote me on that. I think that's what happened. I don't really keep up to date with the celebrity boxing, but you get where I'm going with this. People say that KSI won that fight. Then you have Jake Paul, who was able to put on a scorcher of a fight with Tommy Fury. Or was it Logan Paul? Or sorry, was it Logan Paul fighting Tom? I forget which one it was. It doesn't actually make a difference. It doesn't make a difference. I forget. I can't tell the difference between the two half the time. It doesn't make a difference, actually, because you can have people that are Disney characters fighting in boxing for a couple of years against basketball players and, people that maybe aren't the best of boxers, fighting a guy like Tommy Fury, who's got an amateur record, a professional record, and they're able to put on boxing clinics against that. So that's my second reason why I think boxing isn't a real sport. Now, when I say not a real sport, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it's been exposed for what it is. It's the least thing that you want to know when it comes to combat sports. If you're a young guy now and you're thinking to yourself, well, if I want to make money, I want a social media presence. If I want to make money, yeah, I definitely need to get into boxing, but it's not going to really help me in the real world. What I want to do is I want to know Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I want to know Sambo. I want to know Muay Thai. I want to know the art of MMA that is today. I want to get into MMA because that's the cool sport. That's the hip sport that I need to get into. Because in the real world, and this is my third reason why I think boxing isn't a real sport, you could have a boxer training in MMA for 2 years that would step into the octagon with the lowest ranked MMA guy, and the lowest ranked MMA guy could possibly strangle the life out of the boxer because there is no training for your neck. There's no training for that armbar. Think of the variables that go into MMA. You have to worry about your neck. You have to worry about not getting your leg broke. You have to worry about ground game. You have to worry about the sambo, getting your head caved in. You have to worry about being kicked in the stomach. You have to be worried about being kicked in the head. There's so many different variables that go into MMA than boxing. In boxing, you just have to worry about not getting punched and punching the other guy. And if you do that enough, you're going to win the fight. If you do it hard enough, you're going to get the knockout. But boxing's more dangerous than MMA because of the head trauma that you receive. In MMA, there's so many ways that you can avoid head trauma. In boxing, you're going repeated punches to the head, and you get punch drunk a lot faster than you would in say, MMA. Possibly a reason why boxing could possibly be a real sport, but it's not at the higher echelons of combat sports. It definitely isn't. Boxing has been exposed. Boxing has definitely been exposed. And if you want to watch real exciting boxing matches, well, then you've got BKFC that have fighters who do boxing, but they don't have the gloves on their hand. So it's bare knuckle boxing. It's more vicious. It's more exciting. There's more blood. And the crowd seems to be a little bit more excited for that. But when it comes to the Queensberry rules, comes to these, I don't know, the 7 to 12 ounce gloves, people aren't invested in that anymore. You have Mike Tyson, and here's my other reason why I think boxing isn't a real sport. You have Mike Tyson admitting in a podcast, I forget where I've seen this, where he says, look, I love MMA and I love boxing, but there's no way I could get into an MMA cage for somebody to stomp on my foot, because as soon as somebody touches my foot, that's it, I'm out. But when it comes to the art of throwing hands, I'm the baddest man on the planet. That's Mike Tyson. That's the person that we believe is the most vicious, deadliest man that's ever lived. I don't believe that. Some people believe that. I don't believe that. So there are my reasons why I think boxing's not a real sport. And at the very least, it's not a real sport. At the very most, it's been exposed as the subpar combat sport that it is. You can have YouTubers train for a very long, well, not for a very long time, for a year and a half, and compete for 12 rounds to 10 to 12 rounds with boxers that have had an amateur career. You could not do that if you were a boxer uh, training for wrestling for 2 years, collegiate wrestling, NCAA wrestling. I think that's how you say it. I'm not too knowledgeable about the wrestling in America. Not the WWE wrestling. I'm talking about the collegiate Greco-Roman wrestling. If a boxer trains for that for 5 years and goes in and fights somebody who's at the higher echelons of wrestling, of the collegiate wrestling or the double NC wrestling, whatever you call it, they're going to be annihilated within a minute. But the wrestler has the ability to train for boxing for a year and a half and hold his own and maybe go the distance with a top-ranked boxer. And I understand there's different variables in that. You have Canelo Alvarez, who's just an absolute machine. But there's more of a chance of a wrestler doing that than a boxer doing that in wrestling. And the same for jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, kickboxing. The only critique I have about kickboxing is they don't have a lot of head movement. But if a kickboxer fights a boxer, it's not going to go well for the boxer. I'm sure there's been many instances where a boxer's knocked out a kickboxer, but let's face reality here. Boxing isn't what it is made out to be. The only reason that it generates that much money, it's because it's over a century old, maybe way over a century old. I don't know the history of boxing. I'm not a boxing historian, but it has the deep-rooted fans, the generational blood. It's in our DNA. As an Irish guy, I love boxing. I love bare-knuckle boxing. But let's face facts here. A boxer does not hold his own against any of these other combat sports. They get annihilated. And I do believe once Dana White goes, he will be like the Alex Ferguson of MMA. Everything will dissolve. There will be multiple promotions competing against each other. It will open up. MMA guys can maybe get their sponsors back. Right now, we've got a dictator in MMA that's doing good work, but not maybe the best for the fighters themselves. It's like people go watch the NFL, people go watch the Premier League, people watch the UFC. For me, it's MMA. I like One Championship, Bellator, UFC, all of them. Cage Warriors, every single one of them, the ones that I can't remember. I tune into every single one of them. I love it. But boxing has been exposed here. A boxer is a good thing. I'm not putting down boxing in itself. It's a great sport. I don't want to be hypocritical or contradict myself here. It's a great sport, but is it a sport that's for the future? I don't think so. Without Logan Paul, without Jake Paul, and without the KSIs and the celebrity boxers and the Francis Ngannou's coming in cross promotion, cross discipline, boxing's dead. Boxing doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, there's going to be boxing addicts watching this right now going, Ronan, but there's this, there's him, there's Daniel Dubois, there's Joe Joyce. You don't understand. These are up and coming boxers. Yeah, I get that. I know those guys. But those guys will never be remembered because boxing is fading out. Boxing will not exist in 40 years' time. And if it does exist in 40 years' time, it's going to be people with multiple discipline fighting. You're going to have a promotion with a boxing match, and then the next fight's going to be an MMA fight. That's why, hence why we call it an MMA fight and a boxing match, because it's a match. You can call it a sport, but it's been exposed, in my opinion, is not a real thing anymore. It used to be, but it's not anymore. Let me know your opinions, guys. I know it's quite controversial. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Remember, smash that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a comment, tell me what you think. As I say, share all my social medias, or the links for that are in the comment section and description. Thank you very much for tuning in. Peace.